Hi, my name is Marcin, and today I'm not going to offer you tutorial. Tutorial maybe tomorrow, maybe in a few hours. But what I want to talk about is the questions I got from someone who is interested in retouching. So I'm going to sort of relate these questions to my own story, which probably could help to some people. Who think about retouching, who think about improving, who think about getting job in the retouching. I must say there is some noise in the background from the street, but this is the part of how life looks like in Hong Kong, where I live at the moment. So I have the questions here, so sorry me for looking there and switching. I have the email open. So thanks to Trevor for asking the questions, and I will try to respond as much as I can to help you. So the first question is, do you feel there is a viable market for fashion retouching in San Francisco? So first of all, I never been to San Francisco. And I don't really know much about this. From what I know, San Francisco is a big city. It's a very vital city with a lot of photographers, which makes the industry, fashion industry as well, because of the nature, it probably like San Francisco as a creative place it is, there might be a lot of job to do. But what I want to say, I'm not necessarily sure why necessarily you would like to find something around San Francisco about as a retoucher, because I live in Hong Kong and I never did anything in Hong Kong. So as a retoucher, what is most representative for you is the portfolio, which is somewhere online, and your exposure in social media, so the photographers or companies can easily find you. And it's not really related to the place where you are, but I would assume there is probably a lot of job, and I believe it could be really easy to find the photographers from your area, whether through social media, message them, and trying to collaborate with them for the future benefits you can get from this collaboration. So that would be very basic advice, but don't necessarily look for a job there. But I think if you want to get closer contact, it might actually help you if you will know some photographers there and you can do some collaborations with them. I think the San Francisco, because of high living cost and all the other stuff, might also pay well for your time and your job. How long did it take you to establish a decent client base in lookbooks? Well, I've been doing retouching for 2 years, and I started actually from some beauty retouching and then fashion. Lookbooks I never really include to my portfolio, and lookbooks I always do through the people I know. So if I was collaborating with some photographer and this photographer then knows some of the fashion designers, I had few jobs for this photographer. So it wasn't really struggle for me to get that. It's really important to know the right person who do the lookbooks, for example, which are main income. Let's not pretend the lookbooks for fashion retoucher is major job. And the lookbooks, if you think of retouching, the lookbook is the thing to do, and you will be doing this all the time. And I always was getting this through photographers. You might have few photographers who do a lot of job and they need quick cleaning up, and that's how it would go. How long it took me to establish? Nothing really. It took me the collaboration, that I had the right collaboration, did few projects with the photographer, and then when he was shooting lookbook, I was the one who then retouched that. Can you share any client acquisition tips regarding lookbooks client besides be awesome? Actually, there was never acquisition be awesome. In lookbooks, what's really important, keep the natural color, because you are a fashion retoucher. You don't change the clothes. This is very important. The clothes are lookbook is for something. It's to sell clothes. You want to sell the clothes that are real. So you never really do that much of the color grading. And if you do the color grading, you do very natural one. which I always do in lookbooks, which is also good because there's not so much job to do. And the other part is very basic cleaning up. So you don't want to overdo the image. You never want to do the lookbook, especially fashion. So there is barely any dodge and burn from lookbook. Is make it clean and have a nice contrast and some natural color. I never had anything or make it outstanding. What kind of happened? I was doing, for example, jewelry, and make the jewelry outstanding. And the questions might be sometimes ridiculous because you make the jewelry really bright and visible, and the customer doesn't really know how to articulate themselves, and they might say make it brighter, make it brighter, but what they really mean, add some sparkles around, some fake sparkles, which does happen. I don't think it's right, but if you work for lookbooks, like, this is not your opinion on what you're going to do, but you listen to them. And so the major thing is, I sometimes don't know what they're asking for, but I never noticed like, oh, make it super awesome. Like this is not, the lookbooks usually are focused on the certain part. So if you do the clothes, if you do the fashion, it goes rather easy. If you do some jewelry, I don't really like to do it because sometimes they have some weird things like, oh, make it super bright. Of course, if you have some leather guards, they will make it like, oh, add some extra light to the bags, to the wallets, etc., because they want this thing to be visible. So that's what most important in lookbooks, to be representative for the product they want to sell. What is your average time spent per image for lookbook clients? I don't try to spend more than half an hour for a lookbook image. As I said, it's for fashion and lookbook. I had one lookbook that I spent 20 minutes per image. So it's very important. I set up the raw conversion, whether it's Capture One or Camera. I try to do the right conversion for all of the images, whether it's 15 or 30 images. And then I have the same process in Photoshop. So for fashion images, I'm trying to go with the quick cleanup. If there's some requirements, I have to, if there's some things I have to do and I need to do it fast, I might go quickly to fix few certain areas using frequency separation. Sometimes on the top layer, the texture somewhere is very harsh or something like that. And there is the contrast, quick color grading. So it's very automated process, not much creativity. So it has to go fast because time is money, and lookbooks per image doesn't repay that much. So we want to finish it quick because there's a lot of job, and it might pay better than other jobs, but the other jobs doesn't come that often. If it's about jewelry, I was doing like the job that I was spending over 1 hour in the past, and I was regretting this because it never paid that well. So be aware of what you're doing, what you're taking. I would recommend best is just fashion retouching. For me, fashion lookbooks, because they are the easiest, and but the customers are different. But I always try to spend as little as possible on the lookbook image. What's your general expected quantity of images for an average job? 20, 40, 60, 80 plus. I never did more than 40, I think. So I never did the big ones, big lookbooks. Like I think the most I did 35 images or 38. Usually I do editorials right now, and I never did that much of a commercial job. I did few lookbooks, and the quantity was around maybe 20, 30, 38 the highest. That was not massive projects really. So I mainly, as I said, I mainly do editorials, and I can answer for this as well, that I always ask as little as possible, 1-2 image per costume. Do you charge per image or package rate? I always was like sort of counting per image, even if it's package. I try to say like, how much is it? People say I have 20 images, so then you can say I charge this and this per image. Though if you will be asked for job, like often it's budget related. So someone might say, this is the amount of money we have for retouching. So you will be it will be cost of whole retouch, but you might count yourself per image. And I always try to answer per image. Though when some jobs come in like, oh, this is our budget, can you do it in this budget? And there is yes or no. and that's it. There's no regulation, but I try to count my time always per image, because I know how much I could spend possibly per image. How many revisions do you agree upon prior to final in your contracts? Well, it's really hard to answer these questions, because I usually cooperate very close to my photographers, and I don't try to not deal with the clients because I simply don't like it. So there's always communication between me and photographer. So there's few revisions that way, like saying this is wrong color, let's do more, let's do different, let's do this. So I rather communicate all the time with photographer till the product is fine, like well done, and the photographer always discuss with the customer. So I wasn't really doing this sort of stuff. I'm quite flexible in the contracts or the job I'm doing. Is it wiser to seek connections with photographers or the companies that photographers work for? And here, from my experience, I never contacted any companies, simply because I aim for like different things. I really love the fashion retouching, and this is something I'm trying to do. But why I think it's wise to seek for photographers is because it's easier to contact them, and if you do some retouching for them, you establish connection. And few examples that I got photographer that give me few jobs was recommendation on social media. I got in touch, did some collaboration, and just after this collaboration, I already got paid a job from him. So I think photographer always looking for a job. So if you stick to the photographer, and if you are close to photographer, you might as well get this job. With the companies, it might be more troublesome, and I never get experience about searching with company. I only work for photographers, and I got jobs through them. This is how I like to work. And this would be my advice, actually. Just seek for photographers, but you must keep in mind that some photographers give you more paid job, and some photographers never give you paid job. So you also, if you're thinking purely about the finance, keep in mind that sometimes better photographer give you less job, and the photographer that might be not as good as you think gives you much more job because he's better at commercial things. So this is very important. If you think of money, think of photographer that is really into commercial jobs, that do a lot, that is great at communicate with companies, because it will give you profits. So that's it. I think there is one more. Is the industry friendly enough that retouchers know they can't get all the clients, and do they consequently refer work out to the other retouchers they may know? I do refer other people if I don't want to take the job or I don't have time. I can't speak for others, but some photographers, some stylists always refer me somewhere. So not really retouchers that much, I think photographers, but I don't talk to retouchers that much as I talk to photographers. So probably that's the reason, but I do think people refer each other if they can, and I did. So, but that's only my own perspective. So I think that's all. Very slow video, just my face trying to answer some questions. So maybe some people could relate, and maybe some people could find it helpful. Check the description. If you want to follow my Instagram, check some of my premium courses. Probably worth it. And I will see you soon in the next video.